Hello, people. I am going to be working on this PlayStation 5. It actually has, let me see if I get the camera set up. Actually has a damaged HDMI port. So we're going to tear it apart and then get the board out and get that port replaced and test it, make sure everything works. So we'll get started on that. Now, what I like generally to do is there's a couple of screw holes that are not populated. I know it by heart, but a good practice is to make sure you don't put the screw in the wrong place. You just go and mark all the spots where there's no screws. That way you don't accidentally put it somewhere it's not supposed to. Because believe it or not, you can mess up these consoles if you put a screw in the wrong spot, which could cause damage. Like I said, I'm just doing that for demonstration purposes, but I pretty much know it by heart at this point. But it's a good thing to practice and do if you're trying to accomplish this yourself. We got the shield off, so now we gotta get the board out of the housing. So there's a few more screws we gotta take out to get that done. Like I was talking about, not putting screws in the wrong spot. There's a few on the board side, but you see there's actually some arrows that indicate where the screws are gonna go, so you don't misplace it in the wrong spot. Get that bracket off. So now we should be able to remove the board out of the cast. Oh, sorry, missed one more screw. There's 3 screws under the shield. Take this corner, lift it up just a little bit, and that should pop out. We We do quite a few of these PlayStation HDMI ports. They're quite common to be broken, along with the Xbox, but mainly PlayStation more so than Xbox. But they both are prone to break. So we got the board removed. Here is the damaged port. You can kind of see where it's kind of crooked. And then generally, I don't know if you can see this, but in the back corners, I'm gonna get under the scope and I'll show you, but right here, these pins are also disconnected from the board and damaged. So we're gonna go ahead and get that removed. But the first thing we gotta do is we're gonna have to prep a new port. So what I'm gonna do is get some fresh solder on the new port, and then we're gonna do what's called a hot swap. And what a hot swap is I'm gonna heat up the board. I'm gonna remove the old port, and as I'm removing the old port, I'm gonna drop in the new one all in one swipe. A lot of places have different methods and how they do that. That's just the way I prefer to do it. It's the most efficient, it's the fastest, and it gives you the exact same results as any other way. So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna switch over to the scope, and we're gonna add some solder to the new port, and then we're gonna heat up the board and get that new port replaced. And then after that, we'll test it and make sure it works. Switch over to scope. All right. So here is the new port. All these gold pins, that's what's going to connect to the motherboard. So we're going to add some solder to that. The first thing we have to do is add flux. And what flux does is it helps solder flow so it doesn't stick together. So it's going to go to where it needs to go. Put some solder on my tip, and then I'm just gonna, as you can see, they were gold, now they're silver. So I got some fresh solder on that port. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the board ready for the hot swap. First, I'm gonna give you a visual inspection of the old port. So you'll see it before and after. If you notice, this black casing is not supposed to be this far pushed back. Kind of give you some reference side-by-side comparison. You see how this metal jacket is pushed down, this one's popped up, and the plastic is protruding. So when something got pushed in the port, pushed it out. And if you notice on all the connections, there are kind of I guarantee these are pretty loose. We can take take some tweezers to it and see if they're loose. Yeah, see that one moving? So they're not even connected anymore. So we'll get the new one installed and then we'll verify functionality. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay some flux on the old port, and then from below I'm gonna run some hot air, and then when it's softened we'll go ahead and lift up the old port and then install the new port. Sorry, I lost my port. I had to find it real quick. All right. Let's go ahead and get that heated up. I'm using this, you can see this hot air gun. That's gonna go under it, and it's at 470 degrees Celsius, so it's fairly hot. This only just takes a few moments for this to take place. So I'm running some heat under it. You'll start to see the flux will start to liquefy. You'll kind of see a bubble for a second. That generally means that it's about ready to be lifted. Not yet. All right, it's off. We can see all the pins are there. None of them are ripped up. Sometimes they get ripped and you have to repair that, but in this scenario, we're not going to need to do that. I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh solder to these joints, anchor points, and then I'm gonna drop the new port in. All right, got that. We'll drop the new port. Let it remove it from the heat. Hold it for a few seconds until it solidifies. And that port should be on there. Now I'm gonna clean up all the flux residue. Get that cleaned up a little bit, and then we're gonna verify all the pins are connected. Generally, they always are, but we always want to confirm because it's nothing worse than reassembling everything and noticing it's not going to work. So let's avoid having to do all that. All right, so we're gonna rotate the board so we can see the other side. Pins look beautiful. So now I'm gonna take some tweezers and verify that they're fully connected. Solid. These are all solid. And like I said, this is what we call the hot swap method. We also noticed that the anchor points has solder flowing through, so it's nice and good. Now what we need to go ahead and do is clean up the rest of this flux residue. So I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. But the port is installed, and as long as there's nothing else wrong with the console, it will boot up. Let's go ahead and get this cleaned up first. A little bit of housekeeping. Q-tip and isopropyl alcohol. some additional cleaning. These are special cleaning cloths. They're called Kimtex. They're amazing. They remove a lot of the residual from the flux. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that, inspect it. That looks pretty good. Perfect. Nice and clean. So we'll check the back side. A little bit of perfect. So we'll go ahead and get the little bit the bottom residual cleaned up a little bit as well.
Music and whiskey share a rhythm in the craft of something timeless. Like Jack Daniels, artists boldly build on tradition, mixing unexpected notes and experimenting with production to distill an undefinable spirit. Grab a bottle of Jack and share with whoever, wherever the music takes you next. Drink responsibly.
Perfect.
40% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniels.
That's the way it's supposed to look. All cleaned up. So now we need to go ahead and get this assembled, but there's one last thing we got to do before we assemble it. And I'm going to switch over to the other camera, and we'll show you what that's going to look like. All right, so the port's been replaced. There's a common issue with these PlayStation 5s. It happens naturally, but also it's accelerated if you have your consoles in a vertical orientation. What it is on this APU, there's some liquid metal, and when it's in a vertical orientations, the actual liquid metal will drip down due to gravity, and it'll cause what's called a hot spot. So it'll be dry in certain spots of the core, which would cause overheating issues. This particular one looks amazing. There's really nothing wrong whatsoever. It's got full coverage. This is not really a good example of what one looks like an issue. If I have another one in the future, I'll show you. But this one looks really good. But I am going to take it with a Q-tip, make sure it is fully covered, and then we're going to get that reassembled in the housing. All right. So what I'm doing, I'm cleaning this up, and a lot of times it'll be oxidation, and it'll turn brown. But this one is amazing. There's really nothing wrong with this one. So now I'm just going to make sure that it has the liquid metal across the die. I just have to keep on rubbing it. There's a little bit of oxidation. You can look on my Q-tip. It'll be kind of black. Focus camera. Either way, it'll be a little black, so I just rub it all off. And then I'll take a clean side of the Q-tip, and then the liquid metal will naturally want to go back onto the die. Also, this liquid metal is conductive, so it's also important that it remains in the area where it's meant to be, because if it does get elsewhere, it can kill components. It'll create shorts, so you definitely do not want this to get anywhere else other than the actual die itself. Got that cleaned up, and it should be pretty good. Pretty good. Make sure I get it. There we go. More on there. All right. So that's all cleaned up. So we'll go ahead and get it back into the chassis. Grab that real quick. Well, first of all, we gotta check the chassis because it's made on both sides. Make sure there's no oxidation there. All right, so the chassis itself, no hot spots, perfect, no issues there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pop it right back in. We're good to go. All right, so go ahead and get that board installed. Now I'm gonna go ahead and fully assemble this. You can just halfway hook things up to test it, but I'm a little confident on this one. I know it's gonna work out, so we're just gonna do a full assembly on this. But if you've never done this before, or most of the time you do want to just to save you time from having to reassemble it, or sorry, disassemble it again, it's usually best to test it without fully assembling it. Let's get the rest of the parts back on this. Get the APU retention bracket. This applies pressure on the processor, the APU, onto the heatsink. So if you forget to put that on, it will overheat. So sometimes you'll find yourself putting it together and forget to put that on, and you gotta take it all apart again and put it back together. Not something you can skip. Go ahead and get that shield on. It's all a mistake. Got to put this shield on. All right, before I fully assemble this, I'm gonna go ahead and dust clean this. I'm gonna do it off camera. I'll be right back. All right, got that dust clean. So I'm gonna finish up the rest of the assembly.
Mike and I decided to get it going again. Well, we had planned for one episode, turned into two, but we did look at it from here. Go to the third track, and we did make down the third track trip in Stubby Bob. Fortunately, it's not exactly the teletype. It's because getting into the details of Stubby Bob. What you heard to everything in our business.
All right, got the disk drive installed. Got the mid frame back on.
Hey, this is Ariana Grande, and you should listen to all of my music right here on Spotify.
Get the system fan installed. All right, we got it assembled enough to where we can test it. So we're gonna go ahead and get the console powered on and test the functionality. So I'll make sure we get picture. All right. We'll switch over.
But as you can imagine, when it came down, that taco itself, it was hanging. Now, Victor and I ended up another straight out. We went up.
And there goes the PlayStation logo. And every time we repair these, it always comes up with it wasn't shut down previously. That's pretty normal. But as you can see, we have this powered on HDMI port. And here is the source, and the PlayStation HDMI port has been replaced, and now it's fully functional. And that is how we at Bits PC repair your console. In this particular one, obviously a PlayStation 5 HDMI port replacement. Thank you for watching. And if there's anything else you may need, just feel free to reach out. But we appreciate you watching.